Welcome to the SPL Rundown, your weekly look at all the SPL action. I'm here with my three wonderful guests, LermyWermy, Frost, and Wraithyn, here to break down all of last week's exciting action. Catch my interview with Hurriwind a little bit later on, but first, let's delve right in to this week's game, starting with United vs Obey. What are you guys' first thoughts on United vs Obey? I want to just point out there, our boy Frost, he called it 2-1 on the set. You know, United looked pretty clean in game 1, but Obey comes through in games 2 and 3 to take the set. What are you guys' thoughts?
I guess in-game voting was right. They had like 70-something% Obey, and I was like, what? No way. They did it. They won their first set.
I will say some of the other in-game voting has been very suspicious.
Yeah, a little bit.
Honestly, man, it's like someone's got bets on these games, like from within. Very, very suspect throughout all these.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched that whole set front to back. I knew if I was going to see an Obey dub this year, as hard as it is to say out loud, it was going to be versus United, and I was absolutely jumping out of my chair at that set. And I'm super happy for the guys that they got the win. I know it seemed like the first game they were like deer in headlights. I don't know if they were awake or like what the heck happened when they went to play, but that was just a clown fiesta.
Sure.
The first game, and they came back, and I mean, I don't know if you call it a reverse sweep in a 3-game set, but to reverse the series, to come out strong, they played game 2 clean.
Yeah.
Clean. And that was like, you know, you watch that and you're like, okay, like this is signs of life, right? Nobody in the team is doing, or nobody in the league is doing particularly well right now. Obey's on the rise. They're playing clean. You know, they're capitalizing on United's mistakes. They're not just like, I don't want to say getting lucky or winning team fights, but you know, they were very objective focused. And I think that was the one thing that weirded me out about the first game with United. I think they got like the first 4 objectives in a row. I think they got 2 pyros, 2 gold, and then they ended up losing the game. And that was just like, I might be thinking of the wrong game, but I feel like that's like you got to figure that out. And what I realized is like, it really comes down to the god that Bobby's on.
Yeah.
Right? Because like Ducky's pretty much always going to do well. He's basically, you know, when I look at the talent on the team, Ducky is like not like far and away superior, but Ducky is consistent, right? Ducky doesn't fall behind.
He's definitely up there with Wolfie.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, him and Wolfie are like they don't miss anything, and they're always in the right place at the right time. And I think the second that you give Bobby a god that could play aggressively but get out of trouble, you start winning games, because that's exactly what happened. You put him on the horse, he could go in, he could be aggressive, you know, he can, you know, run at people with his W key pressed, and then he go, oh shit, I gotta get out of here, right? And that's, and that's what they need, because Bobby, you know, we talk about him every week. We talk about Obey. Bobby has this great desire to play aggressively and to punish and to invade and to do all this good stuff, but when it comes to like being out of position, he's like one of the worst defenders in the entire league. You put him on something that's got a big ass safety net on it, and you saw exactly what happened. I'm not kidding. You put him on Ymir, he dies. You put him on Kuzenbo, you know, even Herc is, I think like, you know, he has mobility, but like Bobby always uses that, right? And he ends up just dying, right?
I think especially with Herc, you rely a lot on the Shield of Regrowth proc to like get out of there. You know, after you go in, you like do whatever you do, press W key a little bit, and you press 3, and you're walking out of there. You know,
that's like 65 protections, right? It's like crazy amounts of protections on just one ability. It's actually
it is.
It's a lot.
It's a little nuts. Let's be honest here.
Ross, any thoughts? Or Lermy, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the Horus, I mean, like Wraith has been noting, is just perfect for his style, and it definitely was worth the direct ban up against him in the later set. But we'll get to that eventually. But I think, you know, Bobby can be a great asset to the squad as soon as he realizes, you know, what is working for him, and they're slowly getting to that point where they're out of the experimentation phase now. I think they understand what their style is and what works for them. They just need to find a way to I don't know, push themselves to bring that style into more meta picks, because I like the things like the Raw, bringing that out for Wolfie was really great to see.
Mm-hmm.
But, when it comes to meta, Raw can just get stomped on occasionally. So find something else that's more in meta and then bring it to your style, because there are plenty of things out there that can adapt to that kind of style of gameplay that just have better numbers and better tools to deal with what's good right now.
Hurriwind is basically the only mid we see that picks up the Baba Yaga on the regular. Is this his signature pick, or is it just that Hurry has the practice? Or, this is something I'm probably going to ask him when I interview him, but what are your thoughts on Hurry on the Baba Yaga?
Just thinking about the character, period, in theory, just in a nutshell, looking at her numbers, she should be good.
Mm-hmm.
But just the inconsistency, her ultimate is kind of wonky too, in the fact that you can't really secure that consistent damage. Her escape is pretty nice. It's got that knock-up immunity and what have you, but other than that, she's just too inconsistent. She's not really an artillery mage, because those little flames don't do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
They don't ever blow someone up. Like, I never feel like when I'm against a Baba that I'm ever in any real danger. I just need to not consistently stay in her range, or, get followed up on by someone around her. But her as a character, I don't know. It's fine. It's not great, but it's fine.
Wraithyn Frost, thoughts on Baba Yaga, or if you have any other thoughts on this game?
I'm bold enough to say that he's not playing her right.
Mm.
To me, that character was designed with something completely different in mind, and he plays her as if it was a Merlin, or, look at his build, look at his playstyle. It's as if he's playing any other mage, and if you're going to play any other mage, then pick any other mage. I don't think he does what Baba Yaga excels at. He had before with like the double stacking, but even then I didn't really care for the Warlock sesh. I think she is an artillery mage, but a beefy one, and just causes complete chaos. I don't think it's as simple as this pick and this playstyle, boom. I think it's going to take this pick, a different playstyle, a different build, and an entire team comp around it. And I think until they find that, they probably should kind of let it go. And if you're wondering, oh, these are the best players, there's no way. They've got to have had the build and the comps figured out. Well, Snoopy's not won a single game on Cthulhu because, again, I'll be bold and say I don't think they know how to play Cthulhu.
Right?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Frost. I think the character does extremely well if you like do certain things with her, and you have to play her differently than all of the other mages, right? Like she's not. It's almost like you're playing like a utility mage in some cases, but
Yeah.
everybody just wants to get in there, dump her whole kit, dump the damage, and walk away and hope you get 60,000 player damage by the end of the match. I mean, I don't think she's like top of the standings number one mid laner status, but I do think that just the way people play her is like not what she was intended for, if that makes sense. I mean, I completely agree with Frost.
Sure.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, then. Moving on to Radiance versus Renegades. And I think the Renegades did look a little bit better, but Radiance sort of cleaned it up, played as a team very well in the team fights, and game 2 was very quick from them. So pretty much a clean set by Radiance. I really wanted to point out that Big Man Tings on this Merlin just looked unstoppable this game. Initial thoughts on Radiance versus Renegades?
Oh man, it's rough in games like this because it's I don't want to draw too many conclusions from when there's such a discrepancy between two teams. I think
Sure.
Yeah.
These games aren't a waste of time, but the information that you draw on isn't nearly as stable as you'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because BMT, initially I pictured him being in the same style as Venenu in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Very, if I have a hot team, I'm kind of that glue that holds it all together. And I don't want to say just yet that he's better than Venenu at that same play style, but I'm thinking he got the better team. So he shines a bit better. And I think, are they still interchangeable, these two players? Perhaps is one better than the other? Not sure yet, but one thing for sure, BMT got, the better trade in the end.
I just wanted to point out that BMT basically had 0 deaths this whole set. So, and there are some pretty highlight pop off plays that he made. Especially, I remember one near tier 2 on the duo side. I think in game 2 where he just kills Barra, and I remember Barra talking about it afterwards on stream, where he's just forgot the range on the Merlin one, and then accidentally stayed there a little too long, and he's dead now.
God, that thing is massive. I hate dealing with Merlins. Can't stand them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little biased here. Somebody who spends a lot of time in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you have a mid laner that has no deaths in an entire game, that kind of screams to me that your jungler's not picking his targets appropriately. I talked to Laz after the games. I was like, oh man, like, the hell happened there? He's like, yeah, not my best performance. And I'm inclined to agree with him, right? But he seemed just like really anemic through the whole set. Like he didn't really have, like he was there, but it wasn't like a huge impact, but he was there.
Sure.
In a lot of the team fights, like, I think we get two Lazarus. We either get the Lazarus that comes out of the woodwork and ends the game with 10 kills on Pele and just absolutely obliterates whoever he's playing with. Or you get the, and I almost feel like it's kind of like him trying to force himself into the meta. Like, I don't think I've seen him have like a really good NEM game yet. Maybe one, right? I don't remember what he played that game, but
I think he played Ravana in both games this set.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember the games, but like, I think like put him on those gods that he just knows like the back of his hand. I think Pele was banned for one of them, but
I think so.
We can't. If these guys want to get better, we can't have like hot and cold Lasbra. We got to have like Lasbra medium, lukewarm, or better, right?
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off what you said, I remember there were a couple of solo ganks early on, I think in both of the games, that didn't really pan out. When you try to gank at level 5 with Ravana in the solo lane, like, you're really looking for a kill there to sort of snowball the lane. And when you don't get that kill, it's just like a huge, I think, letdown. It really deflates like the tempo that you try to set early on in the game.
Yeah, Robin's really a momentum character. If you can get rolling with him, then he's just going to absolutely shit stomp you. But I mean, I like the thought process too. Like in their drafting, Robin made sense both times. He works really well up against Cupid and Kuzenbo and those kinds of characters. And even the Cthulhu, to a certain extent, it works really well. But I don't know, I guess it might just be the instance of, okay, he just isn't as comfortable in that character as the Pele or whatever it might be. And I think, Pele could have worked there too. So maybe, they have to rearrange their priorities. And I think one of their biggest mistakes in this set was that they didn't give BMT enough credit. They banned away Adapting's gods. And I feel like if they had kind of just, let Adapting do whatever he wanted. I mean, they banned away Daji when you have 3 characters with CC immunity in some way. Like, of course, like that's his signature pick. So you should be worried about it. But BMT got Merlin and he popped off. I think you need to really put some respect on his name.
I swear.
All right, let's move on to Ghost versus Sanguine.
Oh, God.
I mean, Sanguine, they beat Ghost, and Ghost is no longer undefeated in Phase 1. I surely did not expect Sanguine to win, and I actually rewatched both of these games right before taping this right now. And I gotta say, the Sanguine Fire Giant fights look really good. They look really, really solid. Like, they're peeling off at the right time, they're engaging at the right time. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I think this sort of is shaking up the league a little bit.
Because Ghost looked terrible. Go watch it again. Sanguine did play really well, but Ghost, I don't know if it's disrespect. I don't know if they're sipping on their own troll juice again. This was, it went from a 2-1 if I'm trolling to a 0-2. I am definitely trolling way too much. He was just sloppy all around, and I think they expected to have more room to breathe than Sanguine gave them. Yeah, that's mostly what it was coming down to. The first game, I could definitely say that's more like experimentation. You give them Persephone, you give them Cthulhu. Like you're looking to lose or you're looking to test something.
Right.
There's just no way that you plan to win that. You want information. And then the second game, Twig was just, his poor back. He was going in. I don't know how the others were feeling. But,
as his first relic. I just want to point out he had
Yes, he
blinked
did.
at his first
He did.
relic, and he blinked into like between the tier 1 and tier 2 at like level 5 to try and get a kill, which was, I mean, some crazy play from Twig here, especially in game 2.
Massive cojones there.
Yeah.
I would never have done that in my entire
it.
Smite playing for how many whatever years. Blink first on Hubwa mid. Are you joking?
No one's got the W key quite like Twig.
Yeah, I mean, I straight up did not understand the draft from Ghost. I don't know what the point of the Awilix was. Yes, she did just get buffed. But then Ymir.
Mm-hmm.
Miss me with that, please. I hate Ymir. I will stand on this pedestal until he gets buffed or reworked or changed or whatever. I don't think he needs it as a character, but I just don't think him as a kid belongs in the SPL.
Dang.
Just period.
So much hate. So much Ymir hate. I hope that he's
I hate that god.
super niche. I'm on this hill alone. I thought you'd be with me, right?
I hate it. Play it in the jungle if you're trolling, and that's where the god belongs.
Come on.
And that's it.
We need Ymir.
He stinks. He stinks. Everything about him comes out too slow. And if you have half a brain or understand what he does, you just walk away from him.
You pick on him. That's what you
exactly.
do.
I'm with you, Lermy. I hate him. I hate him. I hate when my friends play him. I hate when my viewers play him. I hate him.
I think he's super niche, though. I think he's super niche.
Mm.
This was not the match. PBM had final pick. I'm thinking, oh baby, that's the dream. Getting support last pick. If I'm in ranked and I'm support last pick, we win. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants that, and he whips out the Ymir of all things. I don't know if I guess the word around the scene is that Ymir's really good into Cthulhu because you can block him off from his ulti. He's so big. He's so massive. You could chain him down. He could be anchored down to where he ulted from, and he'd still smack you all the way to the other Titan. It just made no sense. And even then, if you go back and rewatch that first game, there were some really big mistakes near the end where Ghost was just kind of letting loose that ult economy.
Sure.
Sanguine wasn't taking fights till they had everything they needed, whereas Ghost was just kind of running it down when they felt like it.
I think
that was a weird one to watch.
Yeah, I think we found out for sure, though, that you can't really give Shinto Persephone anymore. So I don't expect Persephone to get through picks and bans for Sanguine in the near future anytime soon. This week, I had the pleasure of sitting down with the mid laner for Eunited, Tyler Hurriwind Whitney, to talk about Phase 1 and Phase 2, the mid-season patch, and his career in Smite overall. Please take a look at it. Hey guys, I'm here with the one and only Tyler Hurriwind Whitney, the mid laner for United, here to ask some questions about Phase 2, Phase 1, and his Smite career in general. But first I have to start off asking about the Guy J pickup. How is bringing a new team member onto the squad been so far? I'm sure it's been something new at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been interesting. Like, obviously we're in kind of a weird spot right now, but so we have Snoopy role swapping as well, and then we have Guy as a rookie, and we weren't particularly doing great before either of those swaps anyway. So it's definitely was already an uphill battle.
Sure.
I think for like what it's worth, Guy's been really good. He's had a good attitude. He's been good about learning, and he's progressing really fast.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily see it reflected in the standings, but he's grown a lot as a player really fast. I'm pretty happy with him so far.
I think that's definitely apparent in the gameplay for sure, because last week's games compared to the week before, I think there's definitely a marked improvement in the way Guy J has played, which is one of the big things I think you have to measure rookies on is how much they adapt to the league as a whole. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like how he's adapting to the league? Are there things that you've noticed? Maybe like old ranked habits or stuff that he's struggling with still?
Yeah, so I would say he's played the game for like a little while now, but he only just recently gotten competitive, like even SML, just like half a year ago or something.
Sure.
And so he's had there's a lot of like bad habits that he's probably had from like just playing the game for so long without being competitive.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I played less than a year before I was competitive. He's
Mhm.
played like a few years before even touching it. So there's definitely going to be a lot of stuff that he has to learn kind of the hard way
Yeah.
in terms of like positioning, like priorities. There's just a lot he has to think about that he didn't have to think about before. I think a lot of rookies kind of have to go through that same kind of learning process, and it's
Mhm.
important that you're patient with them through that time because it's something that every player's had to do.
Sure. Do you think that having a longer phase in phase 2 is going to be beneficial to picking up newer players because there are more games to like get experience and things like that? Is that something that you're kind of banking on a little bit?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely true and a good point to bring up as well. It is kind of an exhausting split with so many games, but
Mhm.
for us, it's actually better. You know, at this point, we've had a pretty rough start, so it is still a bit early to say so, but obviously, it's the Worlds is the most important time of the year, and so we're just progressing as fast as we can to be as good as we can for that time of the year, and we still have time, and it's good that the phase is longer to give us more practice in real games to achieve that. So,
Sure.
yeah.
I like that you bring that up because I've talked to Neil and Sam about this, and they're both of the mind that the phase isn't really matter too much as long as you make the dance, you can make some noise, is sort of their opinion. But on the other sort of flip side of that, I know Mike really likes to get first seed and things like that. Where do you sort of fall on that spectrum? Are you someone who is leaning more towards like just get to Worlds and if we get there we can make some noise, or you like having the consistent finishing?
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, we'd like to place better throughout the split as well.
Mhm.
But I think like for just mental health and just for the longevity of things, especially with the way things can go, sometimes it's better to think the way that Sam and Neil do. For Mike, I think it affects him in less a way because he so consistently finishes in that top end.
Sure.
And I don't think it's necessarily that Sam and Neil are trying less than Mike to achieve that goal. They just don't want to put themselves out there like mentally, and like they don't need their moods aren't reliant on every SPL game that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially like for us, that's the better mentality to have. If we thought of every SPL game as like that important, and then we were doing like this poorly, like no one's like mental would last very long.
Sure.
You know,
I
no one
totally
likes to
understand
lose,
that.
but that's
Yeah.
just how it's got to be.
So I know I was talking a little bit about how a lot of your team are veterans of the league and things like that. Does it feel like you guys are sort of mentoring and or molding Guy J into being like the SPL ADC that you guys want him to be? Is that like a feeling that you're having?
Molding is one word for it. I would say like it's more like giving him the room to make the decisions for himself. I think that if you like put a rookie in this kind of situation, you just always have to like tell them what to do all the time. You don't let them make their own mistakes.
Sure.
And you just try to like mold them into the player that you want to be. I think that it's going to be like not work out the way that you want it to, because when it comes down to it and they have to make decisions for themselves, which you really have to do quite often in Smite, it's gonna like affect them in a bad way. So I think we're just leaving space for him to grow into the player that we expect him to be.
Now is as good a time as any to ask about what your thoughts are on mid-season changes. Are there any new favorite items that you might have, or like how do the map changes affect you and what do you think about them? Are you generally happy with the changes that were made, or what are your thoughts on the mid-season changes?
So there's a lot of stuff that happened. I think that assassins became a bit more potent, especially the auto attack assassins.
Yeah.
For me personally, that's not the most fun thing ever to deal with, like the Callies and the Nemesis. I don't think it's necessarily bad. Those characters have had a little bit of time before they've been in the limelight, so it's fine. Mages got nerfed on quite a few items. Soul Reaver, Flat Pen, probably most of it pretty deserved. So that's been taking some getting used to the amount of damage output. That's definitely like changed for me.
Sure.
Mid's a bit safer now with the wall around the mid camps. And Hikade is an absolute monster of an item.
Yeah.
So that's all definitely. It's definitely one of the biggest mid-season patches I've seen in a while in terms of like how it's shaken things up. The meta picks like almost entirely changed.
Yeah, definitely.
which is cool. I mean, I'm not going to complain about that. It's nice to see new characters. I mean, I don't really love like characters like Freya being in the meta, but it's only like natural that she'll come back in. From time to time.
And almost, I think there's a bit of nostalgia with Freya, especially.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned her specifically, like they reverted her back to basically a past form. It wasn't even like a buff or debuff, right? So I'm sure there was a bit of nostalgia. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, I miss playing Freya in the SPL. That's something that's fun to do,
Yeah, the magical ADCs from like season 2 and stuff, like being dominant. It's pretty reminiscent of that right now, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of someone playing you seem to be basically the only mid picking up the Baba Yaga. What is it that you see in the Baba Yaga as a pick, and what do you think that Baba Yaga brings that other mages might not be able to bring to the team comps and things like that? And I mean, obviously, don't feel like you have to give anything away or anything like that. But
of course.
What's the thought?
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid to like answer this question pretty honestly. I think that like most pro players can probably assume like why I would pick it anyway. I think that it's a safe character, and I think it's like a really good. It's like strong in the same parts of the game that like Merlin is. Maybe for example, except for she's weaker early. I think that people have less practice against her, I think, which is one thing I think is like pretty valuable is when you play a pick that people haven't played against in a long time or have very little experience against. I think it can be like more effective. But I think that she's just safe. She scales like extremely, extremely well into the late game. And I think like if you pick her in a certain like jungle like solo matchups, they'll have basically an impossible time like killing you. Like I picked her recently in our set versus Cthulhu, but like it didn't work out. But the Cthulhu basically doesn't like pressure me the same way. Like playing Merlin in a lot of the same scenarios, he would have just chased me all the way to the Phoenix and I couldn't have done anything. But I'm pretty like I take like no damage from him as Baba Yaga, so that's like a big reason for considering her. Obviously, there's more to the game than not dying. You have to kill the enemies as well, so you have to kind of be careful about where you pick it.
Right.
I think she's still a pretty underrated character in general. I think a lot of people just don't like the way she plays. She's kind of awkward, especially with the way her potions work.
Sure. You think that it's just like the awkwardness of her kit and things like that that leads other SPL mid laners to not be as excited to play her, whereas you're just like comfortable with the uncomfortability, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, just compare her to like Merlin, like any like mid player, especially like pro mid player, will probably tell you like it just feels good to play Merlin. Like his kit is just fluid. Like the auto attack cancels like feel impactful. Whereas like Baba Yaga is just this like big kind of like awkward mess with like weird long cast times and like slow abilities. So that definitely is probably it. It probably doesn't feel that rewarding for most people to play her, and unless she's like so good that the people are probably just not going to want to play her. You know, she's just not a fun character, I think, in a lot of ways.
You feel like she needs buffs or anything like that to maybe bring her into more viability, or is that, is it just people are not trying hard enough with her?
She probably does need buffs. The thing is, like, I don't know, you say like Janice, right? Like no one really picks Janice, and like does Janice really need buffs, right? Like I feel like if he got like a second taken off his 2 or like his ult cooldown reduced or something, like he would probably just be like a meta character that everyone has to play, and people don't really like playing against him. And I feel like it would be similar with Baba. Like I think if you pushed her a little bit, like it like increases scaling like too much on her other abilities or something, you'd kind of put yourself in this weird scenario where I think she's actually pretty close to, with some buffs, like every mid would have to learn to play her, just because she has an escape, she has a CC immune ult, she has a ton of damage late game, she's really good on siege defense, her passive is pretty strong. I think she's very close to being a lot better, and it's kind of like the same thing with Persephone. I think like if Persephone wasn't as good as she was, I think no one would play her because she's such a like pain to execute properly.
Sure.
But who knows? I'm just one guy.
Another thing that's sort of well known about you is that you are known for signature picks. We talked about the Baba Yaga a little bit earlier, but the Yanis is a signature Hurriwind pick. And I talked to Aurora about maybe signature picks being more important in SPL level play because of the way it forces teams picks and bans. do you feel like having signature picks is something that is useful for all the roles and all your teammates in that sense?
It's only particularly useful, in my opinion, if they're very effective in certain situations, or people have to ban them, or people feel like by banning them, they put themselves in a better spot to win the game. So Hercules is a good example. Not every sport plays it, but every team feels like they need a top 3 ban Hercules and Yamoja against Aurora. That puts them in immediately every time before the picks and bans have really even begun in a really good spot. So if you can do that, if you can like if people were top 3 banning Janice against me, I would feel like it was a lot more useful, or like Bobby or whatever. But it's not at that point, so I don't consider it to be like as beneficial. If you can gain that respect and like earn the rights to like an easier pick bans, then I think it's worth like it is really worth that like investment into those signature picks.
Sure. I mean, I say that because I think you're the only one who's even picked up the Yanis in season 7, right? I don't think anyone.
Yeah, and I think it's actually looked like pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It's not something that people can't deal with, and I think a lot of people consider it to be like a one-dimensional character. Like, don't get by the all, and we can't lose. I obviously don't see it that way. I wouldn't pick the pick if I thought it was that one-dimensional.
Sure.
But I can definitely see like why people still feel like it's not like an issue. And I also don't pick like people don't really know why I pick it when I pick it. I think as well. It's not like I pick it every set. So
yeah, okay. I think that's all the questions I really have for you. Is there anyone you want to shout out, or call out, or the stage is yours right now?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In a way, like just shout out to my team. Like things have been terrible, honestly. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's been really bad in terms of like how I've been performing, and it's been hard on everyone. Me, Scream, Harry, Snoopy. Have never done, even in the history of ever in our time in SPL, been the last place team in a split at any point in time, instead of like maybe some like fluke first game or something. And I see like it have effect on people, but I still see people being able to like find ways to be positive, and I really appreciate that. And I think like they deserve like a shout out for that. Like I hope for the sake of all of us that the ship does turn around soon, and I think it will. But shout out to them, shout out to United. They've been very patient with us. Winning matters a lot to them too as an org. It's kind of like their brand, and we've definitely let them down on that front. But they've been patient and supportive of us regardless, and I really appreciate that as well.
Sure.
And there's fans out there that are still being really positive too, which I'm surprised. I honestly thought everyone would have turned their backs on us at this point, but they're still like having some faith, so I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
And Claude's, there's a lot of teams that are bad out there that we've been losing to. You're still bad, and we will still beat you at the end of the day. So don't get too overconfident that you're farming us in scrims right now. It wasn't that long ago we were farming you.
You gonna name some names here?
Oh, they know who they are.
Oh, they know who they are?
Let's see who gets a pass. Sanguine gets a pass. I love Shinto. I want to give Ghost a pass, but I don't want to feed Mike's ego anymore.
Yeah, you should do that.
So, I don't think anyone really deserves a pass, honestly. I think we'll come back, honestly. So,
well, I hope you guys come back as well, because it's always good to have the most competitive league we can have. So, as a fan, I know I appreciate those sorts of leagues and those sorts of games where anyone can win, and it's always very close. So, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a great time getting to talk to you and hear your thoughts on how things have been going with your team and Smite in general. And I just really want to give you my thanks and appreciation for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have like a voice to be able to like explain some of the stuff, especially like considering everything what's been going on. Honestly, a lot of the questions are really good. I got to like speak on a lot of things I wanted to talk about. So thank you as well.
Yeah, and I hope we can catch each other at Worlds. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, COVID doesn't.
We'll make. I think people will make something work. Don't tell everyone though. We'll make something work. I think. So.
All right, that sounds good. All right, thanks a lot, Hurry. Radiance versus SSG, another one of these top teams fighting off against each other to see where the standings sort themselves out. Radiance take the first game, but SSG come back and reverse sweep it. And I think this has to be the story of Dardez's Hera, which I think was recently unbanned from, unbanned into to be allowed in competitive play again. What are you guys' thoughts on Darda's getting Hera back? Is it just coffins for the league, as Nico would say?
Don't give Darda's Hera.
Yeah.
Don't give him anything.
Just take his
Go
cards.
visit the house. Give him COVID.
Oh
Make
my
it so he can't play. Because he'll just walk all over you. He'll just walk all over you. The guy's a madman.
Yeah.
Right? If I was these other SPL teams, I'd be taking him out on the town every week just so I wouldn't have to play again.
Let me show you America, Dart.
Yeah, no, come on, let's go. Atlanta's got great strip clubs. No, come on. Right? Fucking, it's that guy's insane on that character. He's not saying I don't think I've ever seen a game where I've gone, all right, Darda's is a real problem here. They need to fix this.
Mm.
Not one.
Okay. I took the connotation wrong. Where I was like, I've seen a lot of games where I'm thinking he's the problem. The jungler needs to dive him or something.
Oh no! Like where they lose or they have a bad game or whatever, and it's like, oh man, they really need more out of the mid lane. Darda's is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's insane. All right, I'm done.
And it's always on such odd characters too. Sometimes it is like a meta character, or sometimes it's something that he forces in himself. We're definitely going to see other players picking up Hera. Like it's the only way to match it. Unless, are you really going to ban her out?
I mean,
they're just going to pick it early.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's not enough bans to ban on Hera.
Bingo.
They're just going to early pick it. You either have to take it away from him or you have to give up one of your early bans for it. And neither of those are really good options for teams because nobody rocks the Hera like Dardas does.
This is why I like you talk about like banning, right? Like banning, oh, we got so many gods, you got to have so many more bans, right? If there were more bans in competitive Smite and ranked right now, Dardas would never get the Hera. We would never see people pull out pocket picks. We would never see teams forced to choosing, do we ban the really meta thing or do we ban out this guy, right? Like they have to make those strategic decisions, which is interesting. Like you start shoving more bans into the game and all of a sudden everybody's playing like, you know, the top 80 characters instead of the top 90 characters, right? And nobody's allowed niche picks because they just get banned out, right? It's like the Obey set that we talked about earlier. Somebody had to make the conscious decision, or I guess it's coming up. Somebody had to make the conscious decision to say that we are going to give somebody else something else to get Bobby off this horse.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So you start shoving more bans in there and it gets crazy. But I love it because there is so much stuff that you have to ban out right now. You have to be super strategic with the way you do it and do your research on the enemy team. It's not the same thing where, you know, I think of like season 4 and season 5 maybe, where it was like you just hard banned like these 10 gods or 8 gods or whatever it is, and that's it, right? And I don't know. I'm excited to see it. I think it also speaks to the validity of picking these comfort picks, right? This is Lasbra on Pele. This is Sino on Nike, right? This is people doing stuff that they feel really good about and doing well on it because they're good at it, not because it's meta, right? I think we're going to see a lot more Hera, though, because he put on an absolute freaking clinic.
What do you guys think about United versus RNG? You know, we thought United might have a chance to win this one, but RNG come through and really play well to win the games here. First impressions on this set?
That Thor solo was nutty. It was so good. And he had some weird stuff on it too. Like he had the Soul Eater on Thor, and I'm thinking like, okay, you know, like maybe that could work. It has cooldown on it. Thor likes that. He built straight up into the breastplate after that, followed by a Genji's, and that man's ripping out ultimates left and right. And that, like, that's why I think that maybe even Rat Solo too can have that kind of potency as well. Just the fact that you can get to a fight so much sooner, can make those early rotations, and you don't necessarily get punished for it. And it's kind of the same thing too. You get ganked, you say, I'm just gonna pop the ultimate, and you can't hurt me anymore. So I think it honestly could be a lot more meta than, you know, we tend to think. We haven't seen it really at all, I believe, other than right now, at least in this past phase. So I don't know. I think we see a lot more of Thor in the solo after this.
Sure. Ross or Wraith, any thoughts on this game, or maybe Solar Troll on the Thor? Oh, that's a tongue twister.
SOT popped off. I think the unsung hero here was really Laz. Just looking at his spread, 15 assists. Like he was part of every kill.
Sure.
20 out of 26 kills, he had a hand in it. That's pretty nutty in my opinion. That game 1 was just a good game. Game 2 was a shit show. And game 3, it looked like United just gave up. Like they just straight up gave up. And they just walked all over him game 3.
Once again, a Ymir loses. Shocker.
Yeah, we did say, we said 2-0 for Renegades, but they managed to.
No, it's 2-1, yeah.
Yeah, it ended up being 2-1, and it just feels the same as the prediction that we had before. It kind of almost came to fruition, which is neat that we predict the stuff beforehand. It gives you an understanding, okay, what is it that we were overestimating? What did we underestimate? I think there's a little more cohesion on Renegades than there was for United, just like I was thinking before. In these games, it feels like Renegades can be a little more comfortable against top 4 teams, especially top 2. It just feels like they give up everything, and they're almost timid and afraid to do much of anything.
Yep.
In this game, spread your wings, fly away. Lasbra all over the map. Jay can step on whoever he wants.
Sure. I don't think Jake even played anything super crazy this game.
I know. I don't get it. What's happening? Is he sick? What's going on?
Sobek. Who thought we would see Jake?
Yeah, Sobek and Fafnir.
Yeah.
What? Jake can play Sobek?
Where they go in, they have the mobility, and then they can run away scot-free. So, I mean, maybe that's just the kind of playstyle you have to expect from him at this point, and teams have got to adapt, especially on the lower end. I feel confident in saying that the upper echelon of teams in the SPL could work around that and figure out a way to stop him, and clearly they have in the past. So I think it's really about these lower end teams, I guess you could say. They just need to do a little bit more homework on less the gods and more the playstyle.
I just missed the tier, man. Give me some more tier support.
What happened?
It's safe. Put him on something safe. I love it.
It's so. It finds me strange, and I saw it in a comment somewhere on the Reddit post analysis. Someone said, "Why bring Awesome Jake for what he's known for? Why would you get that support and change him? Why not just get someone else who is very well versed in that style that you wanted?" And I think it's working out okay, but I think they're basing some kind of analysis on it. I don't think he's going to hold up too well. Jake is very I don't want to say lacking, but that might be the word. Once you're up against top 4 teams, it almost seems like it just feels naked on Guardians. And he wants his tier.
Sure.
Yeah.
The last 2 teams of the bottom 4 that have to play are PK versus Obey. And Obey definitely did look better in this game. But Cuvo looked like the world beater that I think we sort of expected Cuvo to be when he joined PK. And he really ran the set. What are you guys' initial thoughts on this set going on to end the week?
You did it. You nailed him. You reeled him back in just a little bit. And then, I'm going to give that W to Chuck, honestly.
So all that, you're just a good job, Chuck. You disciplined them well.
Coming from a coach perspective, and I mean, me and Chuck were rivals in the past when we were both coaching the OC region, so
okay. I'm the one that had the stellar job. Hey, good old rival on console when they were undefeated.
Man, I mean, like you said, Cubo just kind of had a fucking show.
Sure. Wraithyn?
Yeah. This one kind of made me sad. I thought, coming off the win, feeling good, looking clean, Obey would take it to PK, and then Cuvo was just not having it. you know, not to discredit anything the rest of the team's done, not to take anything away from Chuck, but Cuvo, you know, again, I used the word earlier, looked anemic for the first 6 or, you know, what is it, 6 weeks now? Week 5, 4, 4 weeks of the
week 4
split.
Like that.
Yeah, 4 weeks of the phase, completely anemic. Wasn't getting the engages he wanted. Wasn't getting to play the way he wanted. You know, we get shut down a lot. We get turned on in team fights. Like, I feel like we saw this like Cuvo that was like really frustrated, and he finally had enough, and he took it out on those poor kids. Oh man, that was just over. Especially game 2. Like game 1 was good and close.
Yeah.
And then game 2, he was like, I got shit to do today, and I'm not doing this. And he's like, this game's over.
Jim must have been closing early or something.
Yeah, dude. He popped off.
Yeah, definitely. Frost, any thoughts on this game?
It's again one of those. Are you only doing this because of who you're going against, or was it what you were expecting to begin with? We like Paul picked Hell again. I don't know if this is the groundhog saw its shadow. It's okay to be Hell again for 2 more weeks, or if it's just you know, took out your shades because it was against Obey.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is more of a discussion for next week's picks, but I hope he brings it back out again because, you know, I always love to see the Hell. Sure. We had to see it sometimes up in the SCC and didn't work out recently, but I think, you know, Pagon in particular can have the chops to do it. So just in general, I think that character has a lot of potential, especially when it's coming from a superstar like Paul who really knows this character inside and out. So I hope he picks it up again, honestly.
All right, well, let's move on to picking them. Next week, there are a lot of great games, starting with Ghost versus Radiance. I guess I'll start with you, Wraithyn, since you haven't picked any games yet. Who you got, Ghost versus Radiance?
I'm still on the fence on this one.
No, you gotta make a pick. On the fence does not count.
Oh wait, do you just want my pick or do you want my explanation?
Whatever you want to
give. Give us a little flavor.
I'm going Radiance. Ooh. Ghost looked a little flat against Sanguine. I think Sanguine exposed some of their weeknesses. I think Radiance is a good enough team to take advantage of it.
2-0, 2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2-1. I want to see a long set.
Okay. Lermy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking 2-1 Radiance. I was not impressed at all by Ghost Gaming this past week. They do have the chance to clean it up a bit, and I think that they have been a little more consistent than Radiance, and Radiance has been kind of the number one, at least in growing consistency in this past split so far. But I think, you know, Ghosts are going to look at last week and they're going to say, what did we just do? Did we take the L like that? Was that real life? And they're going to come back this week a little bit better, but I think it's not going to be at 100%. I think Radiance take it 2-1.
All right, Ghost Boy, who you got?
Well, always Ghost. On the ticket right now, locked in Ghost. But I'm thinking, worst case scenario, I've not known these boys to take a trip and then recover, like a small bump and then recover. No. One falls, the other one's getting dragged. The rest of them, because they all have different levels of rock bottom and different levels of recovery. Either this is the first time it goes from just a hiccup to steadying out once again because, you know, maybe the Radiance game means a lot more than going against Sanguine. Or this is the start of the tumble. Like I said, it's about to get weird, and it could go 2-1 for Radiance, but I'm thinking it's got the possibility of a 2-0. Twig means the business, or it's about to get really embarrassing and end up going 0-2 for Radiance. But I'm gonna stick with the 2-0 on Ghost.
So 2-0 on Ghost, but just as high a probability for a 2-0 to Radiance?
Yeah, I think at this point I'm gambling.
All right, let's start with you, Lermy, on the next game, which is
Sanguine. Cam, what's your pick? We haven't gotten to you yet.
All right, okay, I'll give a pick. I think it's going to be 2-1 towards Radiance. I do think that Ghost probably is still trying to figure out a couple of things, and it just seems like Radiance is playing very, very clean. I think Cyclone is playing basically like a Worlds winner. He's looking just like he did on the Splice days in the duo lane from sort of a rougher start in phase 1. So I'm giving it to the Radiance boys. All right, let's go to the next game, Sanguine versus Obey, and I'll start with you, Lermy.
Sanguine, baby, vamos. We're hitting this 2-0. I don't think there's a single chance that Obey takes anything here. I don't think they take a game. I think this will honestly be a stump. With the way that Sanguine played this past week, they are on their next level. We talked about before how they were kind of trying to figure out the meta. It changed up a bit during the midseason. They popped off the first split, but once it changed, they kind of were once again back to figuring out what their new meta slaves were going to be. But I think that they have it. I think they're going to take this one easy.
All right, 2-0 for Lermy. What about you, Frost?
2-0 Sanguine. I think no one has a cleaner neutral than Sanguine does.
Sure.
Like that neutral game is just on fire for them. And there was a crisis almost in a way. I don't know if you guys have seen the Sanguine documentaries for their phase 1 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Obey the first time,
mm-hmm.
but then they lost the second time. That's when Sino was traded out.
Sure.
And they had just like a hard time really figuring out what happened. We beat them the first time. Is it Sino? Is it us? And ever since then, I think Obey for them has been like that one team that they absolutely refuse to lose, and they're not going to grind for anyone nearly as hard as they're going to for Obey. I think this is almost a personal thing for them. It's going to be 2-0.
Sure. All right, Wraith, who you got? Sanguine versus Obey.
Oh, God.
Well, what's on the ticket, but what's your actual guess?
I'm doing it. I'm going Obey. I'm going Obey because I believe I'm delusional. No, you know what? Signs of life, improvement, getting shit figured out. I think Sanguine walk into this underestimating Obey, and I think Obey smacks him in 3 games, 2-1.
Okay, Obey 2-1.
Obey 2-1. I just changed it in game. Might change it back before the end of the week, but
If he comes to his senses.
I believe in these guys. They're all such good players in their own right. They're getting there. They're on the cusp. They're getting better, right? I think you see like phase 1 Obey and even Obey last year. They got worse. They had one sign of life and then they just went downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta believe that they're figuring it out this year. Sino just moved down on Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be awesome having them all in the same house where they could strangle each other after the games.
Yep.
But whatever. You know what? Call me a fool. But
Right.
I'll be the contrarian.
I tend to agree with you a little bit. I don't think Obey is going to win, but I do think it's not going to be a 2-0. I think it will be 2-1. Obey will take a game. I think Wolfie's actually been playing really well as of late. Even in the losses, I think he's been positioning very well, hitting a bunch of his abilities, following up. I think there is a chance that Obey can do something. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they'll do something. So I got 2-1 towards Sanguine. Let's start with you, Frost, on PK versus RNG. Sort of a battle of the boomers in Zap versus Vera.
Battle of the boomers. Alrighty then. Well, it depends on the ticket. I've got the Knights, honestly, just for Faith and Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if Zap's going to go and get himself soloed. He's been playing a very mellow style of hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's going to continue. I really do kind of miss that constant pressure that they were known for. And I think that pressure would play really well into Renegades. But it just this mellowing out, I think it's going to be like a 2-1 for the Knights. Unless Paul plays hell. Then that's a definite 2-0.
Wraithyn, who you got?
Renegades all day, every day.
I'm sorry, what shirt are you wearing today?
What shoes are you wearing today?
Yeah, I know, right? I get. It depends on whether or not Renegades pull out Ying again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, that's right.
I think if they pull the Ying out again, I think they take it. That was set up for that joke the entire time. I think BK takes this 2-0.
All right, Larry.
Yeah.
You have any more thoughts, Wraithyn, or can I throw it to Larry here and see what she thinks?
Throw it to Lermy. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for that one. All right.
Lermy,
Yeah,
PK versus RNG.
I got faith in Chuck. He's gonna bring the boys back for this one. I'm thinking 2-0, 2-1 if they're trolling, or in the case of Ghost, if we're seeing that kind of thing pop up, then 0-2 because they're definitely trolling, says Frost. But period, 2-0 Knights.
All right. I also think it'll be the Knights. I think Cuvo is stepping up his game. I think this is sort of going to be the ramp up to really hitting a good stretch of games for PK. I got PK winning 2-0 against RNG. I love all my RNG boys, but I think I got PK winning on this one. I think I started with Lermy, so let's get back to you again with SSG versus Eunited. Or did I start with Wraithyn? I think I started with Wraithyn. You're up, Wraith. SSG versus Eunited. Who you got?
Space Station.
Yeah.
United need to turn it around, and I don't think it's going to be against SSG.
Sounds simple enough. What's the score?
2-0.
2-0?
A fast 2-0. Sub 25 minutes each game.
Ooh, all right. That's a prediction. Lermy, how about you? SSG versus United? Another 2-0?
Yes, it's gonna be a 2-0. I don't think United finds their first win here. I think that United still need more time to grow, and Space Station being at the top is not gonna make it easy for them.
Frost, how about you? SSG versus United?
2-0 for SSG. I had faith before in them that the United was sort of like Kingslayers.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do well against their own, but if they had to punch up, they definitely could. With Genetics gone, I don't really feel that same punch. That's a 2-0 SSG.
I think it's also going to be a 2-0 for me for SSG. I think United still have way too much to figure out with Snoopy and Gaijay in the duo lane. And sometimes it just feels like Scream just trolls the games. I don't know. Is that just me? I don't want to antagonize Scream or anything, but
no more Wukong jungle. Then we'll see.
To me, it's like you got a chain gang, and if you're not all in sync,
mm-hmm.
it doesn't go well. Even if you're let's say that you're the strongest one, you've got
mm-hmm.
the best stride.
Yeah.
If you don't learn to walk with the ones behind you, you're dragging yourself forward. You're dragging them. You're dragging yourself. They just can't find that momentum and that tempo. It felt like Genetics was the one beating the war drum, keeping everyone on beat, and now it's all these guys trying to keep in sync together.
That's a very good way of putting how I feel, Frost. I appreciate that. All right, let's move on to the next game. Ghost versus Obey. I think we'll start with LermyWermy on this one. Who you got in this match?
Once again, 2-0 Ghost. This is as much as Obey has been growing, I kind of have just the same feelings as I did for SSG versus United. This is gonna be kind of their break week, or not necessarily break week, but after they finish with Radiance, they are gonna be coasting, and this is gonna be a nice, easy, quick 2-0 for Ghost.
Sub 25 minutes, like Wraithyn said.
Oh, I mean, maybe a little bit spicy, but yeah, I could see it.
Frost, how about you? Who you got for this set?
It's gonna be 2-0 for the ticket, and
2-1 controlling.
Pride before a fall it's the constant motif with this team that I love. They fly so close to the sun. I don't know if their rock bottom includes a visit to Obey.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think it'll be 2-0. Even in their worst tumbles, I don't think that there's going to be a different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
If there is, that's definitely going to be a 2-1 at least. A little blood.
Sure. Wraithyn, who you got for Ghost versus Obey?
Ghost.
Ghost? 2-0?
2-0. Yeah.
All right. I think I'm also.
You love underdogs. What happened there? You love underdogs.
We're just calling everyone out today.
I think I'm probably also going Ghost 2-0. Go ahead, Wraithyn.
Yeah. I look. I said Obey are growing. I'm not stupid. Right? They're growing. Are they going to take out the best team in the league? Maybe by the end of the split, if they keep on the track that they're on. But not right now. I don't think they're there yet. And I hope they surprise me. I want to be wrong.
I will say, I think Obey have a chance to win this set, actually. If Radiance do something crazy and they 2-0 Ghost, and, there's something that happens in that first set this weekend, I think Obey might be able to take advantage of maybe some mental lapses on Ghost to maybe take the set. I don't foresee that happening, because even if it's a 2-1 against Radiance, I feel like Ghost are going to feel pretty good about their games that they play against them. So there is a small chance, but I'm still going for Ghost.
Yeah, you're reading into my fears. See, that's what I'm telling you. I don't know how bad the tumble would be, and if it's one of those, I'm going to continue to sulk into the Obey game, or if I'm about to take out some frustrations and we all get Blink first item.
Sure. I mean, I did have to keep my picks consistent. I did pick Radiance 2-1 against Ghost, so I just had to give that possibility. All right, I think last set of next week, which is Radiance versus Eunited. Let's start with you, Frost. Who do you got in this one?
Again, this is a team that I believe United could have punched up into before with genetics. Right now, it's Dolson's joke might have not been too off. I don't know if you got the right team, but
oh man,
I think these two teams suffer from consequences of the league, such as like long-term problems, like we didn't do the contracts right. Yeah. COVID was also a big issue. Who do we replace people with? Even if we do replace people with, who do we replace? Even if these two teams, let's say that they merged and the best players became the main team and the other team was kind of like the scrim team, you don't have combined talent for it because the problem spots, quote unquote, they're not opposite roles. 2-0 Radiance.
All right, Wraith, who you got? Radiance United.
2-0 Radiance. Like I said earlier, United's got some stuff to figure out. It's similar to Obey. I don't think they're doing it against one of the top two teams in the league. Not this quickly. Again, maybe in 2-3 weeks, we'll see a different side of them. But again, I'm not delusional. I would love to see them win. I would love to be wrong.
I think we all would, because that would, really drastically shake up.
You just get better competition. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah, we talk about this every week. It's like when you know who's gonna win, like it's boring. Like why even watch the SPL?
All right, well, let's see what Lermy has to think. You got the United upset, LermyWermy, or?
Wait, am I supposed to have thoughts about this set? Because I wrote down 2-0 in my playbook and I closed it. That's all there is to say.
All right. I think I'd probably also go 2-0 to Radiance here. Radiance just look too strong, and there's probably a case to be made that Radiance is the best team in the league right now, as far as maybe power rankings would go, especially seeing what happened in the Ghost and Sanguine set. So I got Radiance going 2-0. I think that's a clean sweep for us. Everyone here said Radiance 2-0 on that one. Any other general predictions you might have for next week or maybe the upcoming phase a little bit?
Audio.
There's
going to be a lot of audio. Yes, I'd almost stake, like, I don't know what I have to stake. I'd stake a stake on it. We're going to see a lot of audio just because of the Ghostman, and I don't think anyone abuses it quite like her.
Okay. That's true. Right, Lermy, any predictions for later on in the phase?
Someone's going to pick up Hera. It's going to happen, other than Dardas.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think audio is a good call. I don't really have any spicy ones outside of that. I don't know. I have to think about it.
That's it for the SPL Rundown this week. Be sure to catch us every week at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays on twitch.tv/APM Productions to find out what our analysts have to say about last week's matches and to hear an interview with a SPL pro player. If you have any guests that you would like to see on the show, be sure to DM me on Twitter at APAM2 or at APAM Productions. And please sure to subscribe and like our YouTube channel where you can find extended cuts of my discussions with analysts and pro player interviews, as well as full episodes. See you guys next week.